prepare ourselves. If you put your hand over your eyes, I open my eyes to see the spiritual truth today.
I open my eyes to see the spiritual truth today.
And your ears, I open my ears to hear the spiritual truth today.
I open my ears to hear the spiritual truth today.
And now over your heart, just extend out your arms. I open my heart to receive the spiritual truth today.
I open my heart to receive the spiritual truth today.
The spiritual truth that I'm working with today is that rest is a spiritual practice. Rest is a spiritual practice. Because, see, without rest, we get crabby. We get suspicious. We start making stuff up that isn't even real. We forget that no weapon formed against us can prosper. Without rest, we're not fully present for God's love in our life. Well, today we're celebrating a holiday that actually celebrates rest. It's the December series that we're doing, which we do every December. We bring in all of the traditions that celebrate the light that you are, and we look at them from nourishment. Like I said last week, we're not trying to be any of these. We're trying to look at the nourishment that is available to us in each of them. We started out with Bodhi Day, which is the day of enlightenment of Lord Buddha. And today we're going to be looking at the holiday called Winter Solstice and the nourishment that's available to us in this one. Then next Sunday we'll move on to Christmas, and then we'll do Christmas Eve as well. And then on the 25th we're going to be doing Hanukkah, and then we'll wind up on the 1st of January with Kwanzaa during our service, and then our big Kwanzaa celebration after service. So it's a full month of reminding ourselves that we are the light of the world, that we are the ones that need to be, as Lord Buddha said, be ye a lamp unto yourself and to all beings in your life. Well, Winter Solstice is the grandmother of really almost all of the winter traditions, and to begin our honoring of this tradition, we're going to do a blessing, as we always do, with our altar that Rosemary Mayfield has made, and I'm going to ask Rosemary Mayfield to come up and lead us in this. This is a pagan ritual of calling in the directions. So if you're able, please stand and face the east. And we'll invite you to sing right along with Rosemary in whatever octave you want. Pray to you, you are sacred, and you are looking at me. Take one quarter turn to the right. You may be seated. Now, let me just say, this is a very sacred tradition of calling in the energies of love from every direction that we can face. It is often done in the sky and the earth, and also from our heart. Today we did a more abbreviated version. But what it does is, there's nothing woo-woo about it. It simply is, we invite the energy of our ancestors to come and touch our heart with their wisdom. knowing that they are bringing God's love. That's it. That's the sum and substance of what that ritual is all about. You know, if you are like me, and I grew up Catholic, some of you grew up Christian, and the whole idea of pagan ritual, pagan communities has a lot of baggage to it because we mixed it up. We thought that pagan was associated with the devil. Let me just say again, I say this every year, let me just say it again this year, the devil is a Christian concept. It is not an earth-based concept. Pagan people, the word pagan itself means dweller of the earth. That's all it means, dweller of the earth. It doesn't mean bad person, it doesn't mean anything negative. In fact, it means something quite beautiful and positive in ourselves. Pagan folks, here's what they do. They worship creation with the same love they worship the Creator. Doesn't that sound familiar? That's what we do. We think everything is God, and so we worship creation with the same love that we worship the Creator. That's the focus of the pagans. That sounds like something we should fear? No. There's nothing to fear about this. Pagan folks call us to compassion. They call us to love. They call us to oneness with all life. They call us to one with sentient beings. They call us to one with the rocks. They call us to oneness with the rivers. They call us to oneness with the trees. They call us to oneness with all aspects of Mother Earth. That's what pagans do. Praise God is right. Pagans come from all over the corner of the globe, including Sacramento. And so as we go out in our lives, we open our hearts to this path because pagans have taken a lot of oppression for people who don't understand, for people who do think that somehow pagan is connected with devil worship. Well, the way that pagans celebrate all of the holidays is they recalibrate their own personal rhythms to the rhythms of Mother Earth. So they pay attention to the seasons. They pay attention to the rhythm of Great Mother Earth. Winter Solstice, which is what we're celebrating now, is the occasion in which Earth-based people celebrate the shortest day of the year and the longest night of the year. That happens on December 21st, coming up. The shortest day of the year and the longest night of the year. Now, in many ways, Christians should feel very comfortable with the ways that pagan people celebrate the holiday, because we have borrowed from their celebrations and brought them into Christmas. Early church scholars and Christian scholars included actually believe that Jesus was born in July or August. But what happened is the pagan people couldn't be converted away from their celebration of winter ritual activities. And because they couldn't be brought away, for instance, the evergreen tree that we celebrate, our Christmas tree that's standing over here, we used to be called an evergreen tree, and pagan folks brought it in and put little candles on it to remind them the light is coming. Hold on, like our song says. Hold on, the light is coming. Better days are ahead. More abundant days are ahead. Hold on. Better health is yours. Hold on. Harmony in your relationships is yours. That's what the evergreen tree was brought in for. And the wreath was brought to us by Nordic pagans. The snow would get so high that they weren't going anywhere in their buggies. They couldn't move them in the wintertime. And so they would take the wheel off of the wagon and decorate it up and put it on their front door to indicate that there was life there was friendship inside. And the Yule log that we sometimes see, fathers would take a log and they would cut a sun into the log to remind the family the sunny time is coming. Hold on, the sunny time is coming. Those are all decorations that we have now borrowed. Now I'm telling you, I used to get very cranky about this. because I thought, oh, the thieving Christians, they went and stole all of them. Those were in my political days before I realized there are no enemies for me. There are no enemies out there. And so I began to realize how smart the Christian fathers were in borrowing these traditions that were so celebrated by the people. And in fact, isn't that what we do with all of these? We're borrowing their nourishment. Now, what I do ask for is that everybody, Christians and everybody else, pays honor to earth-based people for coming up with those decorations that we were able to borrow. But they're part of us. They're part of what we want. But it's all a celebration of the dark time of the year. That's what Winter Solstice is, celebrating the dark time of the year. You know, you can't grow into the light without being in the darkness. Sometimes and by darkness, I don't mean the dark night of the soul or those times in which, you know, things are dark and bleak for us. Some of us will opt for that path, but that's not what I'm talking about. The winter solstice calls us to rest. It calls us to the spiritual practice of resting and being able to hear the whispers of the divine. And that's what I'm kind of weaving this idea of whispers from the divine into all of my holiday talks. And it comes from this book that I've been reading called The 7 Whispers, a spiritual practice for times like these. Now, if you've been coming here for a while, if you've been taking classes for a while, you know that spiritual practice for us as religious scientists, as people who attend CSA, religious practice is not limited to prayer and meditation. It is so much more than that. Telling the truth and telling it quickly is a spiritual practice. Rest is certainly a spiritual practice in our life. Resisting the temptation, and I'm talking to myself right now, resisting to the temptation to, when we hear of one more appointment to a cabinet, to just that phrase, we're doomed, we're doomed. Resist that temptation to go there. That's spiritual practice. And it's wearing out my rosary beads. And as spiritual beings, we have to go there. So last week, these 7 whispers, last week we took 2. We took peace of mind, and we talked about Lord Buddha. And I could just hear Lord Buddha whispering, have peace of mind. And the second one we took, which I love so much, the phrasing on this is, move at the pace of guidance. Move at the pace of guidance. I love that phrase. It reminds me not to just go helter-skelter, just running around, but to move with intention at the pace where I can hear guidance in my life. And that's what winter solstice is all about. So we're taking 2 more today. And the first one is practice a certainty of purpose. Practice a certainty of purpose. Now, what that means is you got to commit to figuring out what your purpose on the earth is and what you want to do about it while you're here. See, when you practice your certainty of purpose, you're balancing your own personal needs with the needs of the larger unit that we are a part of, the larger universe that we are one with. All of us have several purposes in our life. Sometimes they change with our age, sometimes they change with our circumstances, but we all have, some go concurrently. Some purposes are being fulfilled concurrently, and we're aware of that. For some purposes, one has to end before another can begin in our life. She writes in this book a great phrase, and that is, your purpose in life, and this is a general purpose we all have, our purpose in life is not to maintain personal comfort, but to grow our soul. Not to maintain personal comfort, but to grow our soul. So when those times come that are challenging for us, if we can begin to shift looking at them as interrupting our personal comfort and look at them as growing our soul, because once our soul begins its growth pattern, we will naturally become more comfortable in our life. Our purpose in life is not to maintain comfort, to grow our soul. Sometimes on our way to certainty of purpose, we have to practice shaky purpose. And we have to stay with it. We have to stay with that period of shaky purpose. Our purpose, we know what it is, but it hasn't quite grown inside of us yet. You know, maybe you want to be a musician. Maybe you want to be a chef. Maybe you want to be an educator. Maybe you want to be an engineer. Whatever it is you want to be, you know that's your purpose. You got it. You're clear about it. And you feel a synchronicity with life about it because you know it's there. But nobody's buying your music. Nobody's paying for you to cook for them yet. But we stay firm. We stay involved and engaged. We don't give up with our purpose. Our purpose doesn't have to be grand. It only has to be fitting. Sometimes your purpose may be simply after a round of a challenging project, it's to rest. Or challenging parenting period, it's to rest in your life. Maybe it's to revive creativity within you. Maybe that's the purpose that you need to do. Maybe it's forming a new relationship or restoring an old relationship. Maybe that's what the next thing to do is in your life. Maybe it's saying a firm yes or a firm no to an opportunity. Maybe that's your next purpose. You know what your next purpose is by saying, what's the next thing I have to do in my life? Will begin to help uncover and walk with certainty of purpose. The second one, the second whisper today from the great goddess is return to the world. Now what Baldwin is talking about when she says return to the world is return to nature. I want to read to you what she calls the preamble to her prayer time. Every day she says this preamble to her prayer time. Creator of all, I whisper into this morning air, thank you for this day. Thank you for the sun that rises and sets, for the wind that blows, for the rain that falls. Thank you for the air I breathe, the food I eat, and the sustenance you provide. May all I do today contribute to the healing of the world, and may my heart be open enough to allow the world to contribute to my healing. It's a recognition that Great Mother Earth plays a role in our happiness and in our healing time. See, regretfully, there are millions of us in this country who no longer even relate to nature. We're so far away from, in fact, we think of it as an inconvenience. You know, we're dependent on how the weather is. And we don't go outside. We stay inside. We keep breathing recycled air because we don't want to go out in that air, that nature. We need to be, and worse than us not relating to nature is we haven't facilitated our children in a way that they can go, they're so connected with tablet screens and phone screens that they haven't had the joy of going out and putting their little finger in a roly-poly and see what happens. Or jumping in a pile of autumn leaves. Or playing until dark until your parents call you for dinner. Or licking the snow off a mitten. They don't know those things because we haven't facilitated them being in nature in the same way that many of us have been in nature. All pagan solstices honor the rejoice of nature and rejoice in nature. They honor and rejoice in nature. But winter solstice is about change. It's about the change from fall into winter. And you know, that happens in our life. When it's time for us to change, we're going to change. See, winter is going to come whether the earth is ready for it or not. It's going to shift from fall into winter. Your changes will come sometimes whether you're ready for them or not. See, in the same way, Great Mother Earth is saying it's time to change. Your soul is saying, okay, it's nice, it's time for you to change. Maybe the earth knew and was ready after millions of years for the change, and maybe not, we'll never know. But many of us aren't ready. We aren't ready to have the change come. You know, maybe what you want in your life is to stop being alone. And you are ready, you think you're ready for the change. But are you ready for the change? Sometimes we say things like that. Please bring a man or a woman into my life. Here's what I want to do. I want you to bring a man or a woman in my life. I want to grow old with them, and I want to live happily ever after with them. And by the way, I'd like them to be handsome or beautiful. Okay? So that's what I want. And by the way, I don't need to change. I just want you to bring that person to me right now. And when earth-based shamans often hear stories like that, they tell the seed story. Every religion has a seed story. And the shaman for earth-based tradition often tells this seed story. There is a leaf, and it's on a tree, and it's happy to be on the tree. It loves the tree. It loves its life on the tree. And all of a sudden the wind comes, as the wind must, and it blows the leaf off the tree into the dirt. And the leaf is very upset. It's in the dirt. It might be saying things like, if I'd only held on tighter, if I'd only been smarter, if I'd only had more positive affirmations, I might still be on the tree. But the winds came as the winds must. And it's in the dirt. And that happens with us sometimes. The winds come, you know, we think, oh, isn't that a cute, sweet seed story? But the truth is, that's our story. The winds come as the winds must. And we change, and we're blown into the dirt, and we think we're lost. And that's what we say to ourselves. Oh my God, I'm lost. I'm in the dirt. People have forgotten me. Why is the wind so mean? But the wind is not mean. You're in the dirt because you're grounded to become the seed for your next growth. When we can begin to look at our lives in that vein, things will change for us. When the winds come and we're not happy, and they blew us into an area of nutrient ground that we didn't ask to be in. If you have to blow me into the ground, I'd rather be over here. And we can look at it, no, it's purposeful, it's right. We can begin to live as the pagans live, without the angst, without fighting. And say, let me see what this is all about. I love this story for me especially because I think the winds have blown this country into the ground. And when I think about this story and where we are right now, there's purpose in us being in the darkness right now. There's purpose for us being grounded into a seed. I think a whole new thing is going to emerge from where we are right now. But we cannot go to sleep. We cannot go to sleep and assume it will emerge without our cooperation. We don't need to lead it. We let God do that. But we need to be open to participate. That's why Alfredo said, you know what? I'm going to do a peace march. And I'm going to have this peace march with every religion, all of these religions and more. So that we can come together and show the world that we can gather together. I had a different sacred reading this morning. Wasn't that sacred reading just scrumptious? Oh, I love that sacred reading. But I had a different one. I had a video reading for it this morning that I desperately wanted you to see. But unfortunately, after I put it on the video, I realized there was a caption that didn't belong in a sanctuary, so I scrapped it. But I'm going to tell you, if you want to, I encourage you to Google Van Jones. He is starting a thing that I'm a member of, and I'm going to be an active member of, and I want to invite you to be active members of, and it's called the lovearmy.org. The lovearmy.org. You know, I have a belief that part of what happened with this election is people are so anesthetized to goodness that they wanted a reality show. I say let's give them the best reality show on the planet. A big R reality show. The reality that love is the answer, and it's active love. It's not passive love. It's active love, where we go out and meet one another that doesn't look and act and talk and dress like ourselves. And we take the risk to put ourselves out there and say, hi, my name's Georgia. I recognize you're a little different than I am, but I want you to know something. I think you're fabulous. Now, believe me, that's a risk. Because they might say, who, what? Take it anyway. Take it anyway. We have to step out, you and I. Because there's something good that's going to come out of this. That's going to leave us so much better than we ever have been. Let's take this message into prayer. Knowing that there's only one power. It's the power of love. And it love moves through us. If we will get out of the way, it's right there. Love is the only answer. It's the answer to welcoming people into our lives, into our heart, and into a sense of security. Love is the answer. I give thanks for that. I release this word into the law, and together we say, so it is.